let's take a break from ponies for a second. Animation is something that I'm really passionate about, which is news to practically no one by now. My appreciation for the medium is worldwide. Doesn't matter where the animation comes from, if it's interesting, I'll watch it. While I really like anime, I still have a lot of love for animated shows that are made here in the West. There was a period where we did go through a slump in quality. Good Western animated shows came around less often, and some shows that started before that time began to suffer from seasonal rot. During that period of time, the notion that there were no good Western cartoons left became more popular than ever because, to a certain extent, it was true. I don't think we can say that now though. Since 2010, we've entered a renaissance of sorts, and there's an overall improvement in the animations that are coming out. Well, with some exceptions. Today, I'm going to be listing 5 cartoons that are some of the best examples of current Western animation. This list will only contain shows that are still running, so shows like Legend of Korra that have already ended won't be here. Also, if you leave comments like why X series didn't make it onto the list, consider the possibility that I haven't watched it, or that I just like the other series more. So, because this intro has gone on for too long, let's get started. Number 5. We Bare Bears. A show based on a webcomic, you say? Consider me interested. We Bare Bears is Cartoon Network's newest show, and it's off to a great start. It has a more casual feel compared to other Cartoon Network shows, and the 3 bears are all great characters. Usually when there's a group of central characters, there's one that kinda gets overshadowed by the others, but Grizz, Panda, and Ice Bear all stand out in their own way. There are even those few episodes that manage to surprise me. I didn't like the burrito episode at first, but the ending changed my perception entirely. The show hasn't been out for too long, so I can't really put it any higher on this list, but it's still worth your time, and I'm looking forward to seeing more from it. And Grizz Bear is best bear. Number 4. Regular Show. If this show had an actual theme song, it'd be the Slackers' national anthem. Regular Show was one of the shows that kicked off the Western animation renaissance in 2010. It had a weird yet funny sense of humor, and it actually had a sense of continuity which you didn't normally see in older shows that had surreal humor. Despite the weird cast of characters, you can't help but get invested in them, and we all have that one character that we gravitate towards, mine being Mordecai. That season 4 finale destroyed me. When you look past the goofy exterior of the series, you'll find that there's a lot to love about it, and while I myself have been falling behind and have a lot of catching up to do, this is still a very worthwhile show. Number 3. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the 2012 version. What? That show? But Sketchy, it's a reboot. It's not the original, therefore it sucks. And it's CGI. Yeah, why don't you head on over to the Center for the Nostalgia Blind? I never had a very loving history with the Ninja Turtles. I wasn't too fond of the 80s version that my older cousin showed me, and when the 2003 version had a stint on Cartoon Network, I'd skip it and watch Code Lyoko and Totally Spies instead. That show's getting a new season, by the way. But after catching a few stray episodes of this series, I really liked what I saw. For one, the designs are great. You can actually tell the turtles apart without the masks because they each have distinct body types. Raphael's more muscular, Donatello's tall and skinny, Leonardo has the standard body type, and Michelangelo is small and round since he's the youngest. And look at Splinter, he looks like a total badass in this series. They even go back to having Shredder voiced by a black guy. Rest in peace, Uncle Phil. I also enjoyed the tone of this series. To me, the 80s series was too silly, and the 2003 series took itself way too seriously. But this version has a nice balance between the two. They even make references to other incarnations in the series, and they make nods to the fans without being blatant about it. I'm looking at you, MLP. A lot of animations these days start off with a good first season that picks up in the latter half, and then turns it up to 11 in season 2. And this series, along with the remaining entries on this list, is a great example of that. This series has received a lot of praise, particularly from the 80s fans, and is more than deserving of that praise. And Red Turtle is best turtle. Number 2. Steven Universe. I can't believe I almost missed the boat on this show. I watched the first 3 episodes when it first came out, and while I didn't dislike it, I just didn't feel compelled to continue from that point on. But a couple months later, the popularity of this show exploded, and a handful of my friends both online and off were talking about it, and I got confused. So in April, I started to watch a couple episodes a day and caught up within a month, and I gotta tell ya, This series is dope. Again, this is a show that picks up midway through season 1 and goes all out in season 2. Now, because I was a little late to the party, I was spoiled about a few things, but even then, I was thoroughly entertained. When a show can still get a surprise reaction out of you even when you know what's gonna happen, that's when you know it's a good show. One of, if not the strongest element of Steven Universe is the relationships that the characters have with each other. Steven and the Gems and Greg and Rose, Lars and Sadie, even relationships you don't think you'd care for like Lars and Ronaldo. What starts out as a lighthearted show turns into a really emotional piece, and as someone that enjoys that kind of stuff, I gotta show some respect for that. And Square Mom is best mom. Now I'm sure some of you are thinking, if Steven Universe is number 2, what show could possibly have beaten it? Well, you're about to find out, but before you do, let's get some honorable mentions out the way. The first one goes to the 2015 Alvin and the Chipmunks series. I'm liking it so far since chipmunks were my main thing before MLP came along, but the show hasn't been around in the US for very long and I've missed a couple of episodes thanks to my school schedule. The second honorable mention goes to Harvey Beaks. This show has been out for quite a bit, but I've only seen about 2 episodes. From what I have seen though, it's pretty good. The third and final honorable mention goes to South Park. I figured that putting this show on the list would be cheating because, while it's still running, it's been on the air since 1997, so it's not really a new show. Still, it deserves recognition for still being funny after 18 years, and I'm looking forward to the new season. Damn, this show's as old as I am. And the number 1 spot goes to BoJack Horseman. Now I'm sure there are quite a few of you out there that have never heard of this series, since Netflix animated shows don't really get that much attention, especially when most of said attention is being hogged by House of Cards and Orange is the New Black. But this story of a has-been 90s TV star is one of the best that Netflix has to offer. A lot of viewers were skeptical of this series since it was an adult animation, and a lot of these types of shows tend to shamelessly and unsuccessfully copy the formulas of South Park or Family Guy. And while that does seem to be the case for BoJack at first, it quickly proves to be a lot more than that. A lot of dramatic themes start to come up late season 1, and instead of dropping the ball, season 2 keeps going and delivers even more of that, while still being very clever and funny. It's one thing for a second season to improve on what the first season started, but season 2 of BoJack actually made the people that didn't like season 1 become interested, and that's quite the accomplishment. Like Steven Universe, BoJack Horseman makes good use of its cast, with a few of them going through their own personal arc, and some of them can even change your perception on the characters, especially BoJack. He starts off as an entitled jerk, but you realize that he's a broken shell that is constantly trying to put himself back together, and you can't help but root for him when he's doing well and feel sorry for him when he messes up. Season 2, Episode 11. That's all I gotta say. The only disappointing thing about this show is the year-long wait once you binge watch a season. Thankfully, we have other great shows that we can watch in the meantime. The past 5 years have been great for Western animation, and it gives me plenty of hope for the shows that'll come out in the future. So what do you think of this list? What Western animated shows would you put in your top 5? Let me know in the comments below, or hit me up on Tumblr, and consider supporting me on Patreon or commissioning me for art via PayPal. Until next time, keep it sketchy, folks.